But thank you for reminding us who we are, that we are infinite beings of light, making our journey back in conscious recognition to realize that wonderfulness that we are. Before I do my talk this morning, which is on I am Alpha and Omega, the first cause of all, which is probably the most powerful cognition that we can have in terms of improving our lives. I'd just like to direct you to your schedules in your program. Opening Spiritual Mind Treatment. How many here are familiar with what a Spiritual Mind Treatment is? Great. Okay, for those of you who are not, this is the distinctive thing about Science of Mind groups. We have this, which goes beyond affirmations. We have a thing called Spiritual Mind Treatment, which is a way that we scientifically speak our word into that causative law of mind, knowing that our thought is creative and our belief is creative. We consciously select what it is that we want to experience, align ourselves with spiritual principle, and speak our word into that forming substance, and that has a cause on invisible plane to set something in action, movement in action on our behalf. So for myself, treatment is the most powerful, and I've studied many things for 25 years. I've been immersed in many, many teachings. Science of Mind is the most accelerated form that I know of because of this, the tremendous aligning power of spiritual mind treatment. There's all this new consciousness. So I'm thrilled that you're all here this morning, that we're here together, that for the level of our consciousness that we have, it's a choice. It's a spiritual choice that somehow we chose to come here, to be here this morning, to empower our new years with a bolt of cosmic truth and the joy of celebrating this truth collectively together. So I know that this beginning for all of us is a real foundation and something permanent. That action that we start this morning through the revealing, whatever is revealed to us individually and collectively through this talk, stays with us and powers us this entire year, advancing our lives far beyond anything that we have ever experienced before. So, in order to begin this change, which I know that we all desire, we need to look at this fundamental mystical principle of I am, Alpha and Omega. That means the beginning and the end, everything in between, the all in all, the cause, the inevitable good fulfillment, the inevitable resurrection of all your good. Alpha and Omega, the sum total of all that is. And when I say all that is, it's important to realize that Alpha and Omega, all that is, includes all of being and all of us. Each one of us, without question, without exclusion. So Alpha and Omega includes this all that is. It is that which we call God, Great Spirit, Great I Am, Great Life Force, moving throughout all of life, generating all of life. It is the root principle, the root source, the baseline, our bottom line of what we are. And it needs to be our bottom line of our cognition, regardless of whatever we are going through. We must arrive at a place that our bottom line cognition is, I am one, with that Alpha and Omega, with divine God, with divine presence. I am one. What's my identity? I am one, with Alpha and Omega. So when we start to ascend the spiritual ladder of understanding, the most important step that we take, first is the mentation. We get the new ideas, we get them in our mind. It's not quite in our gut, but we've got those new ideas. And we're getting some new inspirations and some new insights. But things don't really move forward on a permanent basis to us until we fully, place our feet on that rung of the ladder. Feet represent understanding. So it's when we place our feet, or the understanding, our root understanding, on that rung of the ladder that reverberates throughout our being, with that awareness of that elevating recognition, there is only one thing, only one cause to all of beingness, and that is God, great I am, divine perfection. Only one, not two. Okay? Only one, not two. So in this consciousness, they say the only problem ever that has ever been is a problem of separation. We can never really be separate from that which we are, but we have the freedom of consciousness to think that we are. So all misery, all pain, comes from that sense of separation. If you ask yourself, why am I suffering today? You'll see, I feel apart from some good. And good equates to God. So how do we come near our good again? By healing that separation. How do we do that? By saying, not that I'm apart. When we feel separate, aren't we in essence saying, I'm apart from good? I am apart. So we say, when we cognize that we're feeling that we're separate, then we say, no, I am not separate. And we affirm, I am one. I am one with all the good that is, regardless of how it seems. And in this consciousness, in this cognition, comes our new life. That is the gift of that cognition. New life. The new way of being. The new mode of being. For we must realize that a house, meaning consciousness, thoughts, the sum total of our thoughts, that house that encases us, that atmosphere of thinking, divided against itself, cannot stand. Right? We've heard this. That's what that means. Cannot stand. Our thoughts in division over a thing cannot propel forward what we desire. Or there's, stop, go. Okay? So, in this new awareness that there is only one, all healing comes. And in this, then, we may depart the confusion of dualism. And there is only one thing that can come from thinking in terms of two forces, two powers, two natures, like there's God and my nature, like it's not one, right? And that is conflict. And that is dualism. And so, thinking in terms of opposition. So the one, I am one with the one, departs and elevates above the cause and effect of dualistic thinking. Okay? And this dualism, which our entire culture has been struggling with for even over the last millennium, ever since the Dark Ages. When they say the Dark Ages, that's what they mean. When there was suppression of people's awareness of that divinity, the natural awareness, I am my own church, I am one with God, within the within, without the without. That got suppressed when, the intermediaries came in and said, well, you can only get to God through me. So Dark Ages, dualism, confusion, conflict. Okay, so it's kept us apart for a long time from knowing ourselves, and thus kept us apart from our infinite and divine right to happiness and to fulfillment of all. Dualism can never be correct, just like there can never be such a thing as constructive criticism. Not ever. There cannot be a mixture of pain and joy. You cannot feel 100% joy and 100% pain at the same time. Okay, so this dualistic thinking that we have been conditioned, came into and had to form our own conclusions about, has kept us apart from our infinite happiness, and it offers no way out. You cannot solve an issue through dualistic thinking. You can only solve it through spiritual, divine correction, through making your identity correction that, no, I am not one with this limitation in front of me. It feels like I'm one with it. I'm all tied up in it. But at least if I can recognize that I am one with infinite God, I can begin my emancipation. I can see that there is a way out. Okay? No more. Because I'm thinking one thing in spite of whatever. And because it is the truth of our being, it overrides and it is supreme and superior to what we call secondary causation. That means anything caused from the human plane. We humans can think we're powerful, and we have freedom to think whatever we want to think. But even the freedom to think what we want to think is borrowed from on high. You know what I'm saying? It's like, what gives me the power to think? That which brought me into being. What gives me inspiration? That which brought me into being, and which is you and me and all of life. So if I make the error just through habit, through the time and the place that I come in to experience, of thinking that it's the truth about me that I'm separate, therefore I'm only human, I have lost my connection to the main power line that is the power and the breath of my life. So you can see that if you want permanent, powerful healing, it is not enough to say, I'm a good person. You have to go much further than that, because that will stay resting on the mental level, that it will not come down into the stream and currents and the reality of your being, which is that you are one with perfect spirit, infinitely, eternally. So you can see why this step on this ladder of ascending consciousness is so important, to start saying, I'm one, I'm one, I'm one, to heal any sense of division whatsoever that you might have back your gifts. So in this time period, because we don't want to be prevented anymore. Thank God that the consciousness has come to a place where at the collective level it is now ready and receiving. We were talking about this before. This wonderful information. We are one. We are beings of light. Now we're recognizing it again, and we're taking back our good. And isn't that great? So during this time period, you'll notice if you're in tune with the current, you'll see that there is more evidence scientifically and every level of our oneness with all that is than ever before. Even throughout the medical professions, throughout all the professions, all the messages that you're getting are the same thing. The same thing. So it's very powerful, and we must realize that not only as an individual mind doing our work of correction and alignment in the space that we are, we must realize that as a collective mind, we mean a lot. In the collective mind, each one of our minds is an input, a point of input. What we think goes into that mind and either adds to the collective mind substance of that collective mind is either adding to it or taking away from the process of build-up. Every negation that we hold about life does not empower that collective mind we all join in, okay? So we must know that we are important, otherwise we wouldn't be here. You know, Emerson says, obviously, God has some, purpose by means of me, else would not have extended me here. So realize, you are important. What you think about life, about the universe, about yourselves, about who you are, is important. Each one of you, each one of us. For without even a one, you can see the threads of the fabric, are not so strong. So now at this point in our evolution, as a collective mind, many of us are going over. We're all jumping over and we're ready and we're excited. So it's wonderful that we stand on the threshold of another golden age. So on the individual and collective level, we are raising ourselves now through consciousness out of the age of belief. And since everything emanates from our root system of beliefs, everything we experience will emanate from that which we deeply believe in. So we have been believing in a dualism. And this fundamental collective belief that dualism is what is, okay, has created a tremendous sense of struggle. Can you see how this is? Separation. The idea of two powers has led to all the wars, all the competition, all the manipulation. And if you want to look at, the idea of freedom and servitude, think about it. If you're believing in dualism, what are you buying into? Certainly not your freedom. You're buying into a life of struggle, opposition, the result of your belief, the result of your bottom line pattern. So we can change anything. Thank goodness. Since we have freedom of thought, we don't like a thought, it's not working for us, doesn't work so hot. Let's change it. I tried that, manipulation of so-and-so over and over and over again. Gee, finally getting the point, it doesn't work so good. Maybe I should try freeing everybody around me. Maybe that would be better. Okay? And of course, once we're aligned, life does work for us. But all of these anti-our divinity ideas have risen out of the concept of dualism. And you can cognize this idea and say that we are raising above this now, healing, going above this to a higher dimension, healing through a knowing of our oneness that can never be broken, regardless of whatever we have thought or experienced. We have always been one. No matter what we have been through, even for centuries, it has never done anything to the divine fact that we have one. That's already been established. So recognizing now that there is only one thing, life force, projecting itself outward, we can finally move above living defensively. How many know what it's like to live defensively? Well, we all do, of course, right? And why does this happen? Because we have that undercurrent of the belief system that is filled with negation. So it sets us up to be mesmerized, to spend a life defending ourselves against an idea that we have created, and it seems to be our reality. But if you remove that idea that there are things to fight against, that there are two powers, or perhaps more, what happens? Rather than living defensively, in defense of this and that, in guard of this or that, we can begin to live from the high place with a sense of living in the presence, which is another word for that, is the embrace or the canopy of divine love and light, which can know no offense. We also become very active. You know, the most advanced masters and persons on their way to masterhood have come to a place where they have said, I take responsibility for my consciousness. I recognize that I am participating with infinite force, using that infinite force in every thought that I think. So let me, power this universe with the highest, most sublime thoughts and fealty of my feelings behind it that I can think of for myself and for everyone. So as we become conscious, first recognize we're one, then we actively do the business of sustaining through the avenue of our attitudes, our knowing, through our heart, sustaining the activity of divine life, ever unfolding, in, through, and by means of ourselves. Okay, so if we're in alignment and agreement, aren't we harmonized with that life? If we understand the purpose of that life and everything that we do, we line it up with that. Let's say we want to establish a new business, and we bring in divine concepts of prosperity, harmony, peace, great good for all, in, through, and by means of this activity. Aren't we being one? Aren't we promoting divine spiritual activity, which can't know lack, can't know competition, can't know about any of the dualism? Otherwise, there would be no universe if it could, right? So we consciously align in the things that we are seeking to do in our personal lives with the universal intent. And I like to say to myself, if it's not true about God, or if this is not something that God itself would dream up, let me not think about it. Let me dump it. Let me dump it. If the great father-mother principle that has been upholding this universe from the beginning, and while we're busy having wars, still the universe goes on and does and is. What's doing that? The abiding, infinite, cosmic, creative principle. You think it's going to let a little war stop it from going along and doing its business? Absolutely not. It's life force. So it perpetuates itself, you see? So if we consciously align ourselves with that force that moves regardless of whether we're with it or not, it will just move beyond us. Okay? It moves to do and does anything that is love and light and fulfillment and expansion to perpetuate the essence that it is and knows itself as. So we can participate now. This creative force that already exists creates for us. For us. But we have to choose what we want this undefinable source to manifest for us. And this is where we come in, when we choose the highest and the best. And we choose to align ourselves with the cosmic essence, in other words, all that it is about, and bring it into right our level where we are, right into our every breathing moment, practical experience. It's called practical mysticism, bringing the truth in. Okay? So moving about beyond this I am one, lifts you above dualism. And what happens when you rise above a thing? You can no longer be influenced by it. So as you rise in your consciousness through I am one, your life starts to, all the encumbrance begins to drop away. Okay? Okay, so we realize our responsibility then as an individual, and particularly now. All these authors and ideas are not being, have been building up for quite a while. So let us recognize it now, and let's get on the divine happening. Let's be happening too. Okay? And we can do our part then in eliminating strife from our life, the inner strife and struggle. We are also, every ounce eliminated from our individual life removes it from the collective. So whether you're working at the individual plane or in a collective plane, it's equally important. Everyone's important that you do this to eliminating competition, separatism, division, wars, all of this from the mind forever. Okay, so now we can begin to live with a consciously constructive, purposeful attitude toward life in the recognition of the eternal presence and the active knowing and projecting of the synthesizing force of love and peace that harmonizes our worlds and all worlds. Okay, let us look at the radical difference that living in the consciousness of oneness and the awareness of first cause to our being does for us. With this awareness, transcendent of duality, what happens? When we stop saying there's two and we say there's only one, we begin to perceive life anew. And life happens according to our perceptions about it. A thing has no meaning in itself. I'm the one who qualifies it by my thought about it as to its meaning. So, if I say there's only one thing, only one cause, there can be only one activity, only one thing happening, and that is constructive God, good, in other words, love, bounty, happening in and throughout all, divine life happening. So at last, here we go up again. Another issue is corrected and dissolved for us, solved for us. If we have gone beyond dualism, we can stop saying that's good and that's bad. This is harmful and this is nice. We can say, whatever it is, it's God, and it's good, and it's empowering me somehow. Even if we don't understand it, we can cut right through. Do you realize what amount of mind time and emotional time you are saving yourself by going to that which is true in the beginning, rather than after hindsight, after long times, finally releasing and saying, oh, well, if I have to give it up now anyway because it's too long. Well, what about starting from the beginning with your new awareness there's only one? Well, there's equations from that, right? If there's only one, I can't say that's bad because we know the one is total life force. So, now, the new power through everything is we have a through line. We have a thread. We see the golden light of God being streaming through every experience that comes to us. Now we can recognize this experience has come to me to empower me. It has come to stir the gifts within me, to add unto me, to make me freer, to make me more, not to diminish me, not to make me less. So as metaphysicians, now you can watch the content of your thoughts and move above judging by the appearance of the moment. Now we all know how unreliable that is. How many times have we said in the moment, this is terrible, and then a year later you say, thank God, that happened to me, or I wouldn't be here. Well, so we don't have to go through that year of downtime, do we? If we know the truth and we know there's only one, we can be the mystic who knows in the beginning, God's happening. Something's happening here. Looks pretty strange to me, but something great is going on to me. Now this is something that the mind cannot comprehend. Okay? At the mental level of trying to figure things out, You don't have sight. You don't have vision at that level. You only have it through Alpha and Omega. I am God. I am all cause to all that is. I am in the midst of heaven and hell. There I am. I am the presence. I am the outcome. Alpha Omega, beginning end, or cause through fulfillment. So what is your destiny? Divine outcomes. No matter how much you think that a thing has stopped and you can't do that anymore, or that good will never come to you, I am telling you that you are destined, no matter how many stops and rest periods you take, and you say, forget it, I can't have mine, and you say that, I guarantee you that within X amount of time, that light's going to go on again, and you're going to start saying, what about that something that I was thinking about, Once you've renewed your energy, after you've exhausted yourself by telling yourself you can't have it, then it's going to be coming up again, okay? And it will keep coming up until you align with it and say, of course, I am Alpha and Omega. Of course, this has come to be fulfilled by me. This good thing that I want has come to be fulfilled. So until you do this, whether it takes you a month to get over the quandary and confusion about should I, shouldn't I, or can I not, or if it takes you lifetimes, you will still be beckoned to fulfill that which you are, because I am has caused you, and you have already have the stamp of guarantee that your outcome is perfect, because you are one with God. So you see, this is a lot different way traveling through life to look at the things that happen. And so we must be very alert doing our parts in the evolution to recognize that there's no truth to that I can't have that I can't do any good thing. Of course not. It has come to me exactly because I'm the one who's the one to do it. Otherwise, the idea would have been cognized by someone else. Don't all those great ideas come in through the universal mind, pouring into our minds, all our inspirations? They come from the great universal mind. And then we get it. And it's God prodding us to go forward, to expand upon our good, because we are one with it. Okay, so these are important things. Now, you're, erasing dualism. Only one. That thing is good. I'm one with it. I am one with that which always completes everything that it sets out to do. Every good thing comes into the right moment of fulfillment and fruition. What's going on with me? Have people ever asked that? What's happening with you? You say, oh, nothing. You have to stop saying that. Because, this is the outer talking. And as long as you're attached your identity to this outer, rather to the inner, recognizing who you are living ultimately the powerless life. So next time someone says, what's happening with you? You say, everything. Everything is going on with me. I don't know what, but it's great. It's great. And you can say that, and you can safely say it. And so what? If they say, what's going on with you? Chances are they're going to ask you, how did you come to a place to be so happy? But this is the truth of your being. Okay? So I can stop living then, judging by those appearances which cast me into doubt and fear. I can judge by myself, by the truth of my being, rather than fear. I can let go negative predictions. There's only one. If there could be a negative prediction about me, It immediately separates me from my God. So don't permit anyone, and don't do it to yourself. Correct those. So now we can, instead of being filled with fear and predictions, we can say, that old mindset, it was just a mindset. It was just an orientation, a set of beliefs that someone handed me before I could think for myself, and I took it on. So I can cast off that mindset, and I can take on the new mind, and I can experience my good right now. Enough already. You do not have to suffer for years and years and years. Change your thinking right now, and you can change your experience right now. Nothing in the universe wants to bind you in any type of arrested motion. Okay? No pay up. Just get well. That's sort of the message. Just get well. Okay? So now we can say God is at the top, God is at the bottom, God is within. God is within and without. In the midst of our heaven and hell, throughout all extremes, God is. There is only one thing going on. The through line of ever unfolding, constructive, happening God through me, through my life. There is the ever-connecting, constructive life force, and now we begin to become kind of mystical and cosmic and aware that this thread holds the entire universe together, the universe of being. And we can affirm victory because we're on that victory thread of conscious knowing, of divine awareness, which has a way to chemicalize our experience and turn it to good, turn it to good, turn it to good. Okay. So we can gain then a new faith and a freedom, and we can say, I hear what you're saying, but I know where I stand. We become impervious in a sense. Through the means of our new interpretation of what life is. It's said by Dr. Holmes, who founded Science of Mind, very eloquent, very mystical consciousness. And he said that life cannot flourish apart or separate from its source. Okay? And what he's talking about is awareness. We cannot flourish in our consciousness of who we are unless we are aligned with the source and power, that invisible stuff of our life. If I cannot trace my roots back through the quagmire of my thinking and all the currents and everything, that grid of thinking, if I cannot trace my source, my roots back to the undefinable one, you could say then I've lost my cosmic power line, right? Because if we stop anywhere and say, well, who are you? Well, I'm Linda. I'm the oldest of 7 children. Who are you? Now let me ask this again. Who are you? Where did you come from? Where did you come from? Well, let's see. Before that, I was wherever I was, and then I came into the womb. Well, before that, if you trace it back, if you would ask yourself questions, you'd always have to come back to the simplest truth, that undefinable one, that one cause, one source. Okay, that's who you are. And so we must now acknowledge, this activity of acknowledging, okay, is very important. And we do it a lot. A lot of us metaphysicians just walk around all day and say, thank you, thank you, thank you. I acknowledge the presence. Simple words, right? Because for so long we've been denying. Now you just say, look at you say that if I say, that person who, I have no mother, that's not my mother. That woman didn't bring me into earth plane. She didn't facilitate me. Oh, I never loved that person. Someone I've had a relationship with 10 years. It's like, I never loved that person. Well, the effect you can see of that denial, the amount of energy we have to take to suppress, to tell the lie, to suppress it, to avoid it. to defend against it, rather than just saying, indeed, I did love that person. I'm somewhere else now, but certainly I love that person. Well, when we say that, you see, when we acknowledge, what happens is our energy heals. We get energy back immediately. So if this is true at the human level, imagine the truth for your being as a being of light at the cosmic level when you say, yes, I am one with God. You know, imagine the healing currents, the power that starts to flow through your being when you do that. Okay? So, this acknowledgement is very important. And we can say, without a doubt, no matter what, I don't care how great the mind is, if they don't know this, they're not a great mind in my book, right? We can say, I am one with the one. Because, why can we say this? Undeniably. Even in the midst of shaky belief, all the feelings, we can say, I'm shaking this and that, but nevertheless I say I am one with the one, because it is a universal truth of being, and it is the universal cure for every ill, because it's the universal truth of being. No matter how far out to lunch we are still one with the one. So when we say this, what happens? We start to cure everything: body, mind, body of affairs, conditions, relationships. Everything starts healing through this universal cure. I am one with the one. I and the Father are one. This is what Christ meant. I and the Father are one. So remember that. You know, if you get stuck, remember this. I and the Father are one. I am one with the one. And you can know that at that moment, that energy that's available to heal whatever situation has got now a route of access. It can start now to operate for you because you have let it through your recognition. Okay? There's one more thing I wanted you to get this morning. So first we realize universal cure, all healing, all manifestation comes through I am one with one. I and the Father are one. And that means to us, I am one with entirety of it all, that which is complete and perfect, Alpha and Omega, the cause and the inevitable outcome. Taking out, be vigilant, take out from your mind, take out from your mind the thoughts that do not belong to a divine being. Okay? So it's very important. Now, another aspect of Alpha and Omega, which is very important to cognize, because it removes ideas of struggle, or the need to struggle, is Alpha and Omega must possess the essential qualities of this one. Because we know that scientifically, cause must show up in effect. Okay? Every effect has a cause that an invisible cause, a thought cause, that moved it into being. So cause and effect being one, Alpha and Omega being cause and effect, we realize that that which causes must show up in its own effect. That which causes must show up in its own effect. Thus, this is scientific, it's empirical evidence that you can safely predict every outcome, that you shall overcome all. Because that which caused you, original cause, perfect cause, you are an idea in the mind of God. That which manifests you, you are the effect. You are the outer showing upness of divine being. Thus, like we always see in a painting, you see the handiwork of the artist. It's unmistakable. Every artist must imprint their individuality. their uniqueness upon that canvas. It can't be hidden. You know, just like handwriting can't be disguised. You know, your thumbprint can't be disguised. So God is expressing through you, and you are a divine effect. So doesn't that sort of say a lot of new conclusions for yourself, being that you are a divine effect? Doesn't that carry some, guarantees with that about you? Alpha and Omega. No, I am not a part. I am born of God. You know, in the myths that, they say that Minerva was born full-blown from the head of Zeus. Say that you are born perfect, whole, complete, because that's who you are, one with God, your maker, the artist that gave rise to you. And every stroke in the human panorama is perfect. Every individualization of this God is perfect and has everything. So now, what I want to say to you about this is that when you get an idea, all right, we've been taught to think that we have to go through processes, we have to go through all kinds of stuff to get our good. And who knows, it may take years and eons, and maybe sometimes we can't even get it. So on the basis of I am one with the one, that thinking is totally impossible. Of course, you get everything that you set your sights to get, and that you align yourself with that perfect cause to obtain. And it is given complete. This is what I'm getting around saying. When you get an idea, let's say a perfect relationship, say God or spirit, whatever, or I want, this. At the instant that you got the idea through the cosmic mind about a perfect way to express you as divine love through relationship, you got the idea, then along with that came everything. This is so important, and great mystics understand this. This is also the key to instantaneous manifestation. When you understand that there's nothing that you have to do to make a thing complete, that it is complete from the beginning, from the moment it contained within that, like within a seed, is the entire unfoldment of the thing that your mind is on, that your mind is cognizing. The entire thing is given you from the beginning. So rather than struggle for your good, all you need to do is acknowledge that it is. What a much more graceful way of life, that it is. You say, well, it hasn't become visible to me, but I know that everything, the whole package comes to me from the beginning. Thus, this is being worked out perfectly. All the conditions came with it, all the right timing, the perfect person, everything that was necessary to get me that good. Now, I don't know about you, but when I first learned this, when I first read it and got it, I was like on the ceiling. I said, my God, here again, it's like where I think that I have to do everything, where exactly the reverse is true. So realize Alpha and Omega contains the entirety. And when you have a new project that you're venturing out on, whatever that might be, it is entirely perfect, whole, complete, existing from the moment that you give rise to the thought of it, or that it comes, through to your cognition. So even though appearances, this is why it's so important, even though appearances may say, well, it seems to be taking a long time, where is it? That's the moment when we have to say, it is. I'm not getting caught up in that stuff. I'm not judging by appearances, because I know that I live in a complete universe that always completes itself through me. Why? Because I'm divine. And there is only one cause to my being, and that cause is perfect. So all those other identity things, well, then what happens? If I say, now I'm one with perfection, what happens to all those ideas of unworthiness, poor me, oh gee, I've spent my whole life in, acting out another idea about myself. Well, what do you care? If you have the right idea now, just throw out the old stuff. Something has to go for the new to operate. It's the law of divine order. So throw out that old identity that doesn't work for you and say no to what you no longer want to experience. Okay? And because the mind doesn't care. It's an impersonal mind, and it just is an isness. So no matter how you personally say, gee, I want it to be another way, it's going to be what it is, and you're going to keep having hardship until you come into alignment with the mind. So it's just that simple. So when we say, well, I don't feel good today, so I don't want to think good today, it says, so what? So what? It's like this famous Japanese therapy, the Marita therapy. And, the client comes and says, oh, doctor, I hardly could get out of bed, and, and this and that, and oh, I'm so, I'm enmeshed in my this and my that, and the doctor says, so what? It doesn't deny us the capacity to move right beyond it, right? So as we get into the higher dimensions, this is what we're talking about. Aligning with that truth immediately, as fast as we can, and being who we are as divine beings, Alpha and Omega. So our effects must be perfect too. And we don't let go of a thing until we're manifesting the truth of our being in and through whatever that is. Okay, so what I'd like to do, Faye, I'd like to give you one more cue, and then we'll have a slight contemplation on this, okay? That if something's not, just this other cue for you, if something is not working for you in your life, something you have a great desire for, you've been doing okay maybe even, but you still feel that it's not satisfactory to you. Any area that you've been experiencing frustration, now make a conscious commitment this week to practice viewing your desire as not yours alone. You know how sometimes we just think that we're in the world alone and it's only us and we're battling and up against obstacles? Practice seeing your desire, okay, whatever it is, as sacred, as divine. And recognize that there is some divine quality that you are trying to express in and through this manifestation you want to do. And what I mean is that if there's only one thing and it expresses, it can only express in and through me. So let's say I want to create a new business. Now I'm saying, stop thinking that's a human thing and taking your precious idea and tossing it into the lion's den to be picked over by the world, and say, this is a divine idea that has come to me, whose time has come. God within me, wanting to express something great. Through these ideas, there's always something we want more, express more of this, that's divine. So call it sacred. You've forgotten to bless your idea. You've forgotten to call it divine. And you've forgotten to acknowledge the power of your life. And that's why it hasn't tipped over into manifestation. Okay, so your divinity is no shabby thing. So within divinity, there is no giving upness, no disparity, tremendous, tremendous qualities within your divinity. And use them, your strength, your courageousness, all those gifts as much as possible. So let's do just meditation now. us right now go deep within the within, to the holy place, to the place on high, where all of God is, where all life force is streaming radiantly throughout the cosmos. The great and central point. And now, with the flame of God before us, let us each one within step out now of the body shell and step into the center of the cosmic silence, the eternal, blissful and radiant silence, the presence of God. And now, putting out of mind any inferior or limited ideas about ourselves, let us allow ourselves right now to feel through and through our oneness at the central root with all of being and all of life. Right now, we gaze toward the center. Regardless of our personal goals, details of any individual experience, religious preferences, cultural orientations, regardless of all this right now, which we have laid ever so gently aside, we immerse ourselves in the sacred stream of the awareness of our eternal oneness. Oneness in light, love, truth, fulfillment, each and all, everyone here. We look around us, we see, we recognize the light of God within all, each and every one, regardless of whatever they are now experiencing. We see and we know how in fact all are really seeking the same thing in their myriad and diverse ways. The eternal flame of our being flows through each and every one of us. We are one with each other without limit, near and far, world to world, plane to plane, everywhere to everywhere. One with divinity, regardless of current problems, nevertheless eternally one. Not in our limitations, not in what seem to be troubles, not in confusion, but one at the cosmic root of our complete perfection, love, and wholeness. Absolute, each one and all. And we give thanks that because of our knowing of this sublime oneness, that each and every one of us here now moves on a perfect pattern of unfoldment of the truth of this oneness, completeness and wholeness, right where their heart's desire is, right where that area is. The happening movement of oneness is going on and manifesting greatest good, greater than ever before. So we commit ourselves now to remember that we are one. Always, all times, to acknowledge the divine fact of our eternal sisterhood and brotherhood and oneness with the cosmos of being. We say we are all divine outcomes without a doubt, without a doubt. And we are the outcome we need to be, God's word made manifest right now. And so it is. I write an I am statement that goes along with the talk that we've had, because I found that just like writing our word is important, speaking our word is important. It is an actual energy and vibration. So it's very empowering for us to speak these words together. So if you would take out this I am that I am, you'll see it in your program, and let's read this out loud together, permitting the immersion of these words throughout our being. Okay. I am that I am, and right now I declare that I am that I am in me knows no bounds, is limitless and free. Right now, I am that I am demonstrates complete liberty in all my affairs and all that concerns me. Divine order reigns supreme from beginning to end. Like a shimmering and crystal laser light beam of God, I am that I am now stunningly shatters and dissolves all restrictions around me and gives birth to new and profound, radiant and whole good. On the wavelength of God, I soar in mighty victory over my manifest world. Thank you, God, for the great demonstration of complete freedom from past care and concern Thou dost give me now. Thank you, God, for 100% resplendent radiation of victory, freedom, and peace in my world. I breathe the breath of infinite gratitude, which fills and inspires and uplifts every pore of my being. I am forever free. Alpha and Omega, first cause in all, I rejoice in my mighty and opulent success. And so it is. And so it is.